Hello. Today's lecture is on performing workplace and safety practices. So, of course, in any field or industry, we need to keep our workplace safe. And so we should have our safety practices. So the learning objectives for this lecture are the following. First, practice workplace safety, security, and hygiene systems, processes, and operations. Second, respond appropriately to faults, problems, and emergency situations in line with enterprise guidelines. And the third one is to maintain safe personal presentation standards. So, safety practices, let's start with identifying the safety procedures, practices, in the workplace that they contribute to low rates of accident, good employee morale, employee satisfaction, reduction of insurance and other operating costs, and reduction of losses of employees due to disabling accidents. Of course, these are the things that we'd like to avoid in while working. So, accident and then satisfaction of employees is also very crucial. And also, of course, if we are um, going to be in an accident or if we lose some parts of our body or lose life, the worst case, then it would cost a lot. So that would be the reduction of insurance and operating cost. And of course, the loss of good employees. So we're going to start with the proper disposal of garbage. So waste management is the collection, transport, or processing of waste materials. So the term usually relates to materials produced by human activity. Whether we like it or not, while we are working, there could be waste that we produce. So we have here some organic waste, we have paper, we have e-waste. Like, where would all our cell phones go if they get busted? The computer chips or computer parts, for example. So we also have plastic, we have glass, we have metal, and other waste there. So it's very important for us to know how to properly dispose our wastes. And there are some procedures that we follow, okay, or there are some, yeah, procedures or concepts or yeah, things that we have to understand and remember for us to properly manage our waste. So I have here something with me, an illustration of waste management procedures and techniques. So the first one, which is the biggest part of this inverted triangle, is the avoidance. I have seen a video of a man who tried to get rid or avoid ultimately wastes. So he tried to keep everything at a minimum that he was able to even use his human waste into something useful. He tried to get rid of everything, even his bank accounts, and tried to grow a garden in the center of the city in the US. And I think his idea was wonderful that at the end of the day, he benefited. And of course, this earth that we are living in also benefited from what he did. So he tried it with himself, and now he is starting to educate other people on how to do these things. Avoidance is very important in the sense that instead of wasting something, you try to keep it and use it into something else which is useful, or other ways in which that way supposedly can be used or yeah, used again. So avoidance would be the mother of all the other techniques that we could use in waste management. So the next one here is reduce. If you cannot avoid waste materials, then you might want to reduce them. And so, if you try to reduce them, one way to do that is to reuse them. So that's the third. See, when you can reduce by reusing instead of throwing them away, then probably you try to find the ways in which you could use them again. With the emergence of the plantitos and the plantitas in our society, it has been noticed that there are a lot of materials, waste materials that had been reused. So, lahat ng mga bagay na pwedeng itapon, pwede nang gawing florera o kaya pagtamnan ng mga halaman o kaya ng pagkain. Pwedeng petchay, for example, especially during this pandemic. So see, with this strategy, we are able to reduce the waste that we are just throwing away. And where do they go? Siyempre mapupunta lang yan sa lupa, sa bakanteng lupa, o kaya sa tubig. Yun yung worst na mangyayari. It could go to our waters. And you know very well that our waters are very important for us to survive as well. So, reuse. And if you cannot reuse them, you just have to recycle. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina. Pwede bang ma-recycle ang mga bagay na mga ito, like the plastic bottles na ginagamit natin? When we go out, most of the time we buy water instead of having our container ourselves. So gusto na lang natin, bilhin na lang natin para wala tayong hinahawakan and then we just throw them later. So recycling is very important so that very minimum ang magiging disposal natin. You'll be disposing them, these waste materials, but at a very minimal rate only. See? So very important for us then to keep in mind the avoidance, the reduction, and the reusal, and the recycling of waste materials. So waste avoidance there, I have discussed them already. Waste disposal aims to ensure proper management and disposal of waste. Why is this very important in our safety? Yes, of course, because these materials can also cause danger to us. If we just scatter them around, yeah, it can cause tripping to our employees and the chemicals that can be emitted by these if they're not used properly or disposed properly can be dangerous to the health of our workers. So determine whether the waste is characterized as hazardous waste or not. So it's also very important. Is this waste hazardous? Is it not? Pick up free characterized waste tags, containers, and guidelines from prescribed locations. You have to make sure that where you're going to put, especially when you are disposing them already, these waste, they should be tagged properly with tagged containers. So ensure that containers holding hazardous waste are compatible with waste and are in good condition, do not leak, and are closed when waste are being added or removed. Since sabi ko nga, these could contain chemicals that can be hazardous to our health. So we have to mark containers with words, I should say, hazardous waste. At least alam ng tao pag nakita niya, these are hazardous waste. Hindi niya papakialaman o kaya hahalungkatin, ganyan. So when the container is full, complete the characterized waste tags and then limit accumulation of waste up to the amount mentioned on the container. Huwag nating masyadong i-overwhelm ang ating container. So, to schedule waste pick up also, to schedule hazardous waste pick up, call the transportation supervisor. So, meron din dapat, especially if you are in a restaurant, for example, or if you yeah, in restaurant meron tayong mga hazardous chemicals doon o kaya in an automotive shop meron ding mga hazardous chemicals doon. So dapat alam natin kung kailan tayo kailan natin i-dispose sila. Wag natin silang ipag-mix-mix, especially in a hospital, di ba? Maraming mga hazardous waste doon. Yan. Safety meeting before the pickup of waste. Okay, you have to have your checklist. The employee uses proper PPE. Then toolkit should be checked also. First aid kit should be checked. Fire extinguisher. So these are all things that you have to check before the safety meeting before picking up the waste. Now we go to the practice safety measures. Okay. We have here guidelines to the workers to ensure their personal safety. There should always be a first aid kit. So should always be a requirement. TESDA requires this one during their audit. They require all the buildings that I've been to in our city, mostly naman may mga first aid kit. At dapat itong mga first aid kit hindi nakatago, kitang-kita para pag kinakailangan, kukunin lang. Yun lang may mga malokong mga tao kung minsan na kinukuha na lang for their personal benefit, and that's not also good. So these companies have to keep their first aid kit well in also a place which is very accessible naman. Okay, so it's a requirement. The next one is ergonomics. In some of the modules, I have discussed this already. So ergonomics is crucial in offices yet commonly overlooked. Titignan natin, paano ba yung placement ng mga tables natin? Is it properly lighted para hindi masirang ating mga mata? Are our computers properly fixed, para hindi tayo nagsaslouch while using our computers? Kumusta yung mga upuan natin and the like? So ergonomics is also very important for us to work comfortably there. Fire control naman is also very important in this discussion. So the sources of ignition should be remembered. Yeah, we have here combustible materials also. So they should be separated to avoid potential fires. Ano ba tong mga combustible materials? We have photocopiers, we have computers, printers, portable heaters. So we have to remember where to keep them. Fire control sources, yeah, there. The complexity of your evacuation system will depend on the size of the business, number of floors involved in the number of people who will be evacuated. And of course, with that, we have to have our emergency evacuation plan there. Yeah, in case of fire, in case of earthquake, there should always be an emergency evacuation plan. So this one is it's a documented evacuation procedure by which it should be communicated to all employees so that once there is a need for evacuation, then they know where to proceed. So, example, you are in a certain floor and in a certain room. So, the sales office, this is your exit. For the toilets, this is your exit. You can use the main entrance. For some, there is another exit. So, see, in a building, there should be different exits, and emergency exits are very important, and of course that emergency plan, yeah, is very important for us to know where or what we're going to do. This is to avoid stampede, also to avoid other people being trapped inside the building. Okay, next to this would be the electrical hazards. So all electrical cables should be periodically inspected for integrity and replacement, especially if they are damaged. So you have to look at the wires of those electrical gadgets that you're using at home or in the offices because they can cause electrical hazards there. We also have chemical safety. Yeah, we have mentioned here this one already during the discussion of the garbage management. But chemical safety is also very important, especially if you keep them. They are inevitable that we have to have them in our company, then you have to keep them properly. So this requires you to keep a register of hazardous substances. You have to keep a data of the substances that you keep and precautions in place to prevent injury and anyone using the chemicals. I remember a case in Sablan before wherein the school laboratory was burned, and some students were there, and some of them even died. So see, with that's even a laboratory class, so it's a science class. So dapat itong mga bagay na to nakikita. So how much more pag hindi siya laboratory class, like in a company, for example? Are we even aware of the chemicals that are being kept in our company? There. Next one is housekeeping. So we have to make sure that our offices and our building, our company is clean. Yeah, physically. Kasi we are there, we are using the things that are in the company. Therefore, we have to clean them properly. So housekeeping is very, very important. Temperature also, the recommended range is 22 to 26 persons egress from the workplace. So we have to make sure that the temperature is not so high. Yeah. So that, especially if there are some chemicals that we are keeping in the kitchen, for example, or the automotive shop, for example, there. So temperature is very important. Yan. And we also have manual handling there. Sometimes, especially here in the Philippines, we usually handle things manually. Unlike in other countries like Japan, they have machines to carry these things for them. So whenever staff are required to lift, shift, or move heavy items, there are some uh, tips that they have to know and remember to avoid problems, okay? Yeah. Physical problems and accidents, of course. And of course, we also have the 5S implementation. And what is this 5S? So we have here the sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain. Okay, let's try to look at them one by one. By the way, these five principles comprise the 5S lean manufacturing method, which originated in Japan. So, while 5S can help any organization, the principles contained in the method should specially appeal to those in food processing for its ability to promote food safety through a clean, safe, and organized workplace. Well, that's just for to give stress to the food industry. But of course, in any workplace, these 5S is actually very important. The five principles are based on the idea that a well-organized and clean workplace increases employee satisfaction, promotes worker safety, and decreases product waste. So that is very important. Aside from the employee satisfaction, also the client satisfaction. Of course, it would be nicer if they go to an office which is clean. Okay, there. So let's start with sort. There, sort. For the sort step, work areas should be cleared of things that aren't needed daily. So if you don't need them, just keep them somewhere in a storeroom. Sorting can help minimize chances of cross contamination and cross contact by sorting food contact or non-food contact items apart from each other. Can you just imagine your room, your bedroom, for example, with the used clothes and the unused clothes? Mean the clean clothes and then the used clothes together in your bed or on your bed, then there's no sorting in there. So you have to sort them properly. Okay, next one is we have set in order. So this makes it easy for the employee to find the right tool at the right time. This is also a problem. Like, where's this? Where is this? So if you cannot find it really, if you just put them anywhere you like. So if it is a laboratory, for example, a laboratory for um food or non-food, then you have to keep everything in their proper place so we don't cross-contaminate, and it would be easier for you as a worker to find the things that you need. Shine, tools and machinery at the work area should be cleaned as part of the shine step, which should be repeated as frequently as necessary. It cannot be that you only do it once a year. No, probably we have the general cleaning once a year or maybe more than once a year. But of course, we have still to always maintain the cleanliness of our workplace. And the last one is what we call, oh no, not the last one. We also have the next S, we have the standardize. So when you write standard operating procedures or SOP, consult with employees again. Okay. Standardization means you will have to come up with rules and in which everyone is informed. So there is a standard. Okay? So standardization or standardize. And next one, you have to take note of sustain. So sustain, there are generally three different methods to sustain the 5S improvement. So we have here daily checks. Supervisors on the floor and should check and make sure that the procedures are being followed daily. Periodic checks. Using the 5S checklist, supervisors can perform quarterly or monthly checks. And then change only checks, supervisors can check to make sure 5S is being followed only when a process change is being implemented. So see, our 5S is very important then in maintaining the safety of our workplace. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you again on the next video.